I can get out on the platform, and I want to go into Siberia to get my first double lungful of freezing Siberian air. And so I've got shoes and socks on, pants, underwear, shirt, 2 thermal shirts, and a coat, and I jump out onto the frozen platform and inhale. And my lungs go, "We're not porcelain. We'll break. We'll break. You motherfucker. Why? Why are you doing this to us? Why do you hate us so? Why do you hate us so?" And the cold is incredible. The cold does not give a fuck what you are wearing. The cold just goes, "Fuck you, I'll kill you right now." And the cold goes through my Van sneakers, up the marrow of my leg bones, right to my apparatus below. Now, some of you women, when you were still dating men, you remember when you were talking to us and we seem distracted. We're over here somewhere and you think we're just stupid. Actually, we're not. We are in 24-hour communication with the apparatus below. We are at the table with you. Actually, we are in meeting down in the war room. We are going through history. We are looking at tapes of last season. We are coming up with plan A, plan B, plan C, the dreaded plan D, where we grope you in the front seat of the Denny's parking lot, hoping to get some as a sympathy move. And so we hope it doesn't come to D. We hope A is going to rock. So we're reviewing the plans. It's the Darwinian mule kicking in our stall, basically. And so we're going through stuff, and you're like, "Excuse me?" You're like, "Yes, poetry and sensitivity is really fantastic." It's like basically waking up in court. I object. And so I feel a movement down there, and so I radio down, "Fellas, what are you doing?" And the one ball that hangs higher than his lower brother, very heroically, he has reached down and grabbed his lower brother and slung him over his shoulder. And he is now ascending towards the body cavity. And I said, "Why this northern move?" And the higher brother with his lower brother slung over his shoulder said, "Henry, a lot of times during the year, you take our contents and you spew them uselessly into sinks of Motel 6s all across the American Midwest. But there may come a time when the contents therein should be utilized for their true purpose, to go uptown, to go knocking on an egg wall. And we cannot have our troops unable to mobilize because they're suffering from fatigue and frostbite, stiffening their little tails. And so until the snow melts, we're going up north for the dubious purpose of putting your awful traits one generation ahead. So we'll see you in the spring, you idiot." What? Gone. And so I'm like just flapping there, very lonely down there. And so at that time I say goodbye to my nuts, and I hear the clanging sound. I'm like, the clanging sound, what is it? Because I'm a very curious person. I see ahead of me the angry woman of the People's Hallway is like 4 cars up. I see massive clouds of steam coming from her mouth, and she's laboring at something, and I walk over to see what she's laboring at, and she's hacking away at something. The People's train car has the People's toilet at the end of it. The People's toilet is a very primitive affair. You utilize it, you flush the toilet, human waste, paper products, and water goes spiraling down a hole through an exit tube into Siberia. -degrees, below zero. The train is going at a high rate of speed. There's wind chill factor. A thing is moving at a slow rate of speed in a cold temperature. It sticks. Another flush, something sticks to that which is already frozen, which sticks to that which is already frozen, and in a few flushes and a few kilometers, you have this thing coming out of the exit pipe that resembles a Jaguar automobile hood ornament. Like a popsicle you want no part of, put it that way. It must be manually separated from the train by the angry woman of the People's Hallway, and she does it with a hatchet. Ping, ping, every single car. And that's the clanging sound. And I get back to my car, I'm just kind of lurking outside, my body shrinking from pain of the cold. And she gets up to the People's toilet down the hall from where I'm living, and she gives me a look like, I'm like, I'm sorry? Stuff goes in. I'm sorry. She's like, ting, ting, filthy boy. Ting. And she comes up after she finishes the whole train and points the hatchet at my face. She goes, get on the train. I'm like, and I get on the train and we take off. And hours later, she comes busting into my room. And she was like, like she's going to feed me. I said, "Ma'am, I don't want any food, but thank you so much." And she's not taking no for an answer. So we haggle a little, and I think I have ordered fish. And you know, and for the first time, she smiles. I go like, I went, duh. She goes, duh, yeah. And she leaves, and then for the first time, she smiles at me in like 20 hours. And why did I say yes to the meal I did not want? Because I didn't want to be too cool for school. I wanted to say yes to the Trans-Siberian Express, yes to the angry woman of the People's Hallway, and yes to her cooking, because I wanted to get a good boy out of this lady. I wanted her to like me. And so she reappears about an hour later with the food. And she goes ripping into my room. I went, oh, it's here. And she puts down the saran wrapped plate on my table, a knife and a fork and a napkin, a bottle of mineral water and an orange and 2 pieces of black bread wrapped in cellophane. She leaves and locks the door, goes pounding down the hallway. I unwrap the food and inhale the vapor that comes from it. Diabolical. Just awful. And all of you come factory installed with that software that will not allow you to swallow bad food. You eat the mouthful of bad shellfish, chew, chew, chew. The software kicks in and goes, do not swallow that. And you find yourself like in mixed company at the cool dinner trying to impress your girlfriend's parents or something. You're like, chew, chew, chew. Because if you put it back on the plate, everyone freaks out. But you can't hide it. Like, do you have something in your mouth? Is the food not good? The food good. The food is real good. I'm bad. My palate is from the Stone Age. I am not equipped to fully appreciate the eclectic, Epicurean wonder of your food, this cornucopia of exotic taste. I'm ignorant, so I'm just going to leave. I'm going to go, and you're not leaving me again. Oh, I love you, and I love you, because I'm an asshole. Me, an awful, awful mouth. Go back right. And you live to eat another day. Everyone else dies, of course. And so I put the first forkful of this awful food into my mouth, and my body goes, please don't! And I go like, fuck it. And I utilize manual override. It's like, I'm eating this whole meal. Because once I get set on the objective, I must realize it. And so I'm like, oh God! I eat all the food. And a few hours later, I'm now bored. I'm officially bored of my laptop, bored of my books, and bored of my mind. I'm going to go walk around the People's Hallway. And so I leave my little cubicle. And there's nothing to do in the People's Hallway. There's a little, bit of carpet, windows, and other identical sliding metal doors. I'm looking up and down. There's nothing to do. So I put my elbow on the metal rail, and I'm looking out into Siberia. There's nothing going on. The lights are off in Siberia. There's just completely dark. And around 10:25 p.m., the voice came to visit me. And the voice has come to visit all of you. Henry, is that the voice? Indeed. Oh, hey, the voice, what's happening? Henry, it doesn't matter what's happening with me. What's important is what's happening with you. Oh, yeah. Henry, do you remember the last time I visited you? Yes. 2 or 3 years ago, I went from Melbourne, Australia to Bangkok, Thailand, and I stood in that airport where you always have to stand for 2 hours and 30 minutes really still because the air is really thick and you don't want the butt sweat to start going down the crack of your ass because once one drop goes down the crack of your ass, it's like a flood of ass sweat and you start growing science experiments in your underwear. So you have to stand real still. Well, the voice, I stood real still, but yet I failed and I baked bread down there. It was awful. And I was thrown unceremoniously into a freezing metal capsule owned by Lufthansa and shot across the earth, and I landed in Frankfurt, Germany, stood around the Frankfurt airport for a couple of hours, and then got into another identical but somewhat smaller Lufthansa rocket, and I landed in Gothenburg, Sweden, I think, on the night off, and I sat in a small room with poor light trying to read the British Financial Times on my little tiny bed, and around midnight or so, you spoke to me. Very good memory, Henry. Do you remember what I said to you on that night? Well, not to try and quote you, the voice, but basically, you kind of said, hello, Henry, 'tis I, the voice. You have less than 30 seconds to put that newspaper down and dive to the toilet, where you will vomit with more convulsive fury than you thought humanly possible. And Henry, what was the outcome of my pronouncement? The voice, I threw the newspaper down and dove.